Everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Cover Four podcast. As my partner out in Provo, Utah, Randy Gibson, the president CEO of RDG Communications. Uh, he's had a busy day with his company. He had a bunch of conference calls, and seemed like business is picking up a little bit.
Yeah, hoping so, Tim. It's been a little slow. Feast or famine, had a summer that I couldn't stop and traveled off from one coast to the other coast. And then they kind of slowed down over the holidays, hoping it's picking back up a little bit now.
Hmm. Well, not going to start with anything local right now, but something that happened out your way.
Yeah,
And
local to me out here.
yeah, which Randy's there in Provo, which is where he's splits time between here in Tahlequah and out there, but mostly he stays out there now. Uh,
Mhm.
the National Hockey League last week made a decision about the Arizona Coyotes, and this was done by the ownership there in Phoenix. They have had a major problem for the last several years, and it's a place to play. In the last 2 years, they played in the 5,000 seat Mullet Arena on the Arizona State campus. They have shared it with the Arizona State hockey team. Well, the
Mhm.
owners, they've got their eyes on a piece of land up in Phoenix, in North Phoenix, but the problem of it is the sheriff's sale is not going to be until June. So, with that, the ownership of the Utah Jazz made a proposal, and they met with the ownership of the Coyotes and also with Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL. And the Coyotes have been sold to the owner of the Utah Jazz. So next year, Utah is going to have an NHL hockey team,
Yeah,
minor league expansion team.
it's interesting because we've already got the Grizzlies, which is not NHL though. They're an
Right. That's
affiliate
the
of the Colorado Avalanche.
right. That's the uh, AHL team, which is the
Right,
Triple A.
right.
They so they will probably move them.
I would assume so with Colorado
Um,
because they're affiliated with, like we said, the Colorado Avalanche. So
right. Hmm.
it's I would assume you wouldn't have both because the Grizzlies are in West Valley, which is just a suburb of Salt Lake City already.
Well, they could wind up being that the Rockies could move the franchise uh, closer to Denver. I don't know yet.
Hard to say what's going to happen.
There's a double A, which is the league that the Tulsa Oilers play in, the ECHL. They could
Hmm.
possibly move them, uh, which is the Colorado Eagles, and they may move them there. They could stay there in West Valley, uh, and the uh, team that was the farm club for the Coyotes was in Tucson Roadrunners.
Hmm.
So there's a few things they'll work out, but they will play next season in the Delta Center,
Yeah.
and this is going to mean that you're going to see the 31 teams of the National Hockey League coming into Salt Lake and playing there.
Hmm.
Uh, they've I've already heard they've sold 22,000 season ticket licenses at $100 a throw. So people are excited there in Salt Lake that they're
Yeah.
getting the National Hockey League team a whole lot sooner than they thought they were going to.
Oh, yeah. I think they've wanted one for a while. Of course, we got the Jazz, and
Right.
that always seems to go well. But um, yeah, I think they're pretty excited about it. I think the Grizzlies, from what I understand, did really well. Had good turnouts for
Yes.
their matches.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see the name that they will come up with, the logo,
Yeah.
because the Coyotes, the one thing they did bargain on this is that the nickname, the logos, the colors, and everything stay in Phoenix, because eventually there will be an expansion team that will come back to Phoenix. Hopefully, they will win that bid to acquire that land up in North Phoenix and build them an arena that they will own. That's been the problem. They got
Hmm.
booted out of Glendale. They played out there. Uh, if you remember, a number of years ago when I was
Hmm.
broadcasting Sequoia basketball, Sequoia played in the Nike Tournament of Champions.
Right, I
Well,
remember that.
they played their hockey games in Glendale, close to State Fair Stadium, where the Cardinals play. And that's about a 30-mile jaunt. That's about like from Tahlequah to Muskogee, is how far out they were playing.
Hmm.
And somehow or another, uh, they got crossways with the city. The city would not renew the lease. They scrambled to find a home. They played a couple of years where the Suns play.
Yeah.
Then they wind up out at Arizona State and trying to build them a new home or find a new home. And they decided, okay, let's do this in Salt Lake City Benefits. So,
Well, you were kind of talking about um, name and logo. There's a contest going on
right, right. I
out
knew that.
here. They pulled up on KSL, the sports, the kind of the main station out here in Salt Lake City.
Hmm.
Do you want to hear some of them?
Yeah, go right ahead.
There's several on the list, and I'll kind of share the ones I like the best. Of course, you can't our podcast watchers and listeners, they can't see the logo, but um, we've got the Blizzard,
Hmm.
and which looks pretty good. It's kind of a blue hockey player blue with the mountains in the back. I like that one.
Yes, I do too.
Um, there's the Venom. Not
Okay,
so keen on that one.
right.
The Fury. Really
Mhm.
not keen on that one because it looks like a demon, which for Salt Lake City is not a good.
Not a good thing. No, no, not when the Delta Center is that close
Well, the
to
Delta Center is a block and a half
from the
one of
temple.
the from the second largest church in the world. It's headquarters.
Yes.
I don't think that's a good one.
No.
Um, boring. Next one's boring. I don't even know why they bothered. Utah Hockey Club. I don't even
Well,
know why
that's
they put
just
that one there.
that one they will use temporarily because the Arizona did not qualify for the Stanley Cup playoffs, and they will be in the lottery uh,
Ah,
coming up. So
ah,
that probably will be the temporary name until they come up with something.
probably.
Uh, that's but the Blizzard, I like that. Uh,
Uh, we got a couple more I want to share. There's a bunch. I won't go through them all, but the Yetis is another one.
okay,
Not too bad. The Black Diamonds, which kind of goes along with the scheme out here. For those of you who don't
right.
know, there's the Black
Yes.
Diamond runs.
Black Diamond route. That's the super expert route.
Right, right. Um, the Flurry,
Okay,
um, the Storm. That
okay,
was that logo looks pretty good. It's got like a snowstorm going. The guy's going through a snowstorm with the mountains in the background. Uh, and this one, my grandson would love this one. The Raptors, the Utah Raptors.
okay.
Of course,
You
if you're
got
a if
Toronto.
you're a Yeah, if you're a paleontologist, you understand that there's the Utah raptor dinosaur.
Yeah.
So that's some of the better ones that I like. There's some others. There's mountaineers and rattlers and Gila monsters and switchbacks, but I think uh, I think the blizzard, um, the storm, and the raptors are my three favorites.
Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna say the Grizzlies, but I did I had forgotten that they were the AHL team out there.
Right,
So,
right.
uh, but like I say, uh, you might want to get with one of your brethren in the church that may have season tickets that they're not going to use one night.
Oh
Make
heck
a
yeah!
trip down to Delta Center and see a National Hockey League game when I would be envious of you because I've never seen one.
I haven't either. I've whenever I was lived in Oklahoma City or in Norman, I'd go up and see the Oklahoma City Blazers, especially when they take on the Tulsa Oilers. That was kind of a
Yes. Oh,
that
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 was
that turnpike back in the early '90s. That was quite a
oh,
battle, you know.
oh, I'll go all the way back to the 70s and the
Yeah.
60s in the old Central Hockey League. And I mean, you had let's throw some old names out there. There was Cal Swinson, uh, uh, Leroy Comet Haley. There was one guy, Alf Handrahan.
hmm
He was the tough. Well, with him and Cal were the two tough guys.
Yeah.
Back then, you had guys that were the enforcers back then, and Alf would he played not only for the Oilers, but then went to Oklahoma City. And boy, Tulsa fans turned on him so quick, made his head swim.
Well, that same thing happened in the '90s with Doug Lawrence, if you
Yes.
remember. Doug
Hmm.
was a beloved player in Tulsa
And
and went down the turnpike to Oklahoma City, and holy cow, you'd have
hmm
thought it was he just was turned traitor big time.
hmm but Doug Lawrence's number hangs in the rafters of the BOK.
Oh, really? Does it really? I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Him and Mike Berger,
Uh-huh.
9 and 44, hang in the rafters of the BOK Center, along with um, the Adams Cup from back in the '60s and the Miron Cup before the Central Hockey League folded and was picked up by the East Coast Hockey League. And it's a big league. In fact, Tulsa uh, got beat Monday night and got swept by Kansas City, so their season is done. They did make it to the Kelly Cup, and which is their version of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Got swept four straight, so they are done for the season. They'll be getting ready for the 24-25 season here. Come about end of October, early November. So
Good.
that's where that's at. Well, let's talk about the spring game for OU.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get to go. First one I've missed in several years, actually.
You might
But
have to turn in uh, your alumni card for that one.
I know. Can you believe it? I just didn't. I've got some exciting things going on next month, and I'm going to be back in Oklahoma, and I just couldn't swing getting out there twice that
Hmm.
close back to back. But um, ESPN Plus carried the game.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure the fact of going into the SEC didn't hurt that any.
Nope.
Um, and I know, Jim, we have made it to the SEC unofficially because guess who was in Norman for the game? Mr.
Feinbaum.
SEC himself, Paul
Hmm.
Feinbaum.
Yep.
Good picture of him and Brian Bosworth and Coach Venables
Yep.
all together there at the
And a
game.
very touching thing that the uh, OU did at the 25-yard lines is
Yeah.
making a thing for Toby.
Yep, Toby Keith, big supporter for Moore, big, huge supporter of Oklahoma athletics and the football team, and always there on the sidelines. And they put his name on the field for the spring game on the 25-yard lines. I thought that was a very nice tribute to Toby, and I know his family really appreciated it.
Yep. And that's where the SEC logos will
Hmm.
be at the
That's
25
right.
yard lines.
You
Uh,
know, one of the things I noticed, Jim, it was uh, the Big 12 logos were not on the jerseys. They can't put the SEC logo on yet.
nope, not until July 1.
Not until July 1, but the Big 12 logos were off
Yep.
for that spring game. So I know everybody in Norman's excited and getting ready. And some takeaways on my end. Spring games, I don't give them much credence because they're just kind of a glorified practice, really.
Right.
You had a lot of defensive starters that didn't play. Bowman, of course, he was kind of almost like a student coach
Okay.
for this game. A couple of others didn't play. Uh, Ethan Downs did really well on the defense. Didn't see too much out of Stutzman. He was more coaching out on the. He played, but he was more coaching out on the field. It looked like to me.
Mhm.
But they might have been purposely keeping him out because he's one you don't want to get hurt in
Right.
a game like that. And um, offensive line looked improved somewhat. I don't think it's quite the concern that it was still a concern, but not quite the concern that it was at the end of last season.
Mhm.
Um, Quarterbacks, Jackson Arnold looked fantastic. Of course, you can't tackle the quarterback, so
No.
of course
No.
he can bust through that hole and get a few yards, and he can get touched, but that's about it. But his passes look good. Um, Michael Haas, new backup quarterback coming in. He looked really good for a backup quarterback, and he ran the offense a lot. Um, for me, a little bit of a concern. Still, the secondary. Um,
And
the two quarterbacks.
that's
Yeah,
always been OU's Achilles heel.
it sure has. Now, again, Bowman wasn't back there. So we'll see what it brings. They had a lot of young kids back there, but
Mhm.
man, they got both Arnold and Haas got off some deep throws back
Mhm.
there. Receivers look good. Want to brag on the transfer from Purdue, Burks.
Mhm.
Holy cow, he looked fantastic. First drive, Arnold hit him on a long one right off the bat,
Mhm.
and right in stride. And he's going to be really good. Didn't see Nick Anderson kind of holding him out. Um, of course, he'll be back and good. Farouk did not play,
Mhm.
uh, but Jaden Gibson, I think he's like 6'3" or 6'4", and uh, he had some nice catches. That Burks kid's going to be really good. So Jackson Arnold's going to have some targets to hit out there on the receiving core. Running backs, Hicks looked really good. Um, looked fantastic. The running backs looked good. Sawchuck looked fantastic. He carried a few times, but they kind of, again, I don't think they wanted him to get hurt in something like this. So he
Right.
was kind of walking gingerly as he passed it through the line,
Yes.
shall we say. But it was a fun game. I think they did really well. Their scoring is very difficult to track. Um,
Yes.
the radio
Hey,
crew had it pretty good, but the television crew had a little bit of trouble keeping up with the score. And the poor guy running the scoreboard was constantly having to play catch up because he couldn't
yeah.
keep up at all. But overall, I think it was a good game. I think everybody enjoyed it, and you know, I'm worried about Bama, of course, coming to
Mm.
Norman. I'm very worried about Louisiana Saturday night to end the season,
Yeah.
but
Last
rest of
game
the
of the year.
season, I I think we'll hang in there and have some good games. Probably
Yep.
won't win them all, but I think there'll be some. If you like good college football, I think there'll be some good games to watch.
And the other thing is too, uh, OU got their first taste of SEC officiating because that was an SEC crew that was there.
Yeah, they did, and I thought that was really good for them to be able to get a little bit of a handle on how the SEC crews do things. Much
Yes,
different than the Big 12.
very much different. It's
You
very
know, you
much
would
different than when we left the Lone Star Conference and went to the MIAA. Now I'm talking about
mhm,
Northeastern. Uh, the MIAA officials are very professional. They have a guy that was a Big 8, Big 12 guy that is the supervisor of officials, Phil Laurie. And I found that out when Kenny was the coach, when Kenny Evans was coaching, and he moved me from being ball boy to being the penalty recorder.
mhm,
And so that's something that we saw, that the officiating was a lot better. They are held to a very higher standard, to the point that there have been crews from the MIAA that have gotten the championship game. Whenever the MIAA didn't have a team in the championship game, the MIAA top crew got that championship game.
mhm.
And also, they give the penalty recorder one of the flip coins, and I've got four of them. And one of them, I don't take it very often out of my uh, case that I have.
I
I've
don't
got them.
blame you. I wouldn't either.
The one is the 100th anniversary of the MIAA, and I've got that one and the others in a plastic case uh, that I hang on to. In fact, I took one of them with me and showed it to the SEC crew that did the penalty recording there in
Mhm.
Fayetteville. They were up in the press box before the game, and I showed them the coin they use, and they were very impressed. The Division II conference put one out like that.
That's cool. You know, just kind of going back to Feinbaum for a minute, being there in
Yeah,
town. Um, guess who he's got in his top 3 for next season for SEC?
so you got OU at top three.
Nope. Our nemesis down south in Austin,
Oh yeah, oh
the
yeah.
Longhorns. He's got
I,
them in the top 3. He doesn't
I
have
can
OU in the top 3.
I can tell you right now. I saw. Did you see the tape coming out of Austin when Arch
Yes.
made his appearance?
When I
And
saw some of his gameplay in the spring game down in Austin,
ooh,
I think we've got another Manning on our hands
yes.
for sure.
Did you see the 75-yard bomb that he threw?
I did. That was
Uh,
impressive.
in
Bad
inside.
as I as bad as I hate to say it, that was very impressive. What a great play that
Oh,
was.
that yours better be looking over his shoulder,
Yeah, he's sure better.
because if he screws up, Sark is not going to hesitate to put Arch in the ball game, and especially if it's at home, 102,000 down there,
Yeah,
going nuts.
yeah, for
And what
sure.
would be scary would be for him to go into the OU game down
Yeah,
there at the Cotton
yeah,
Bowl.
yeah.
It'd be uh, like in a Bugs Bunny cartoon, Cecil Turtle after he got his shell stolen by bugs and it had a rocket on the back of it. Like, mm,
It's funny you say that. I saw that one just
mm,
the other day.
yipe. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. It could be just
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah. Well, baseball is upon us, along with softball. OU played your BYU Cougars over the weekend out in Provo.
They did. It was a great weekend for baseball. I wanted so bad to go to at least one of the games. The closest I got was 2 days. I got to drive by the stadium while they were playing.
Mm,
So it was fun to see the crimson out there on mixed in with the blue. Uh, Lots of people were out
mhm.
there to watch the Sooners come and play. Sooners won the series 3 games to none. A couple of games were pretty close. 10-8 was one, uh, and there was one that was a little bit more, but the other one was about the same, almost like a 2 or 3 score game.
Mm.
Great series. Sooners looked really good, um, and you know, I I kind of I'm really happy to be going into the SEC, but I wish BYU would have entered the Big 12 many years ago.
Yes.
It's been kind of
They're
fun.
just so gung ho about staying as an independent, just like Notre Dame. But for them now to be in the Big 12 and getting that bonus money from the bowl games,
Yeah,
they'll see
it's
that come July 1.
it's helping so much. They wouldn't have gotten their basketball coach. I think we talked about this last week. They wouldn't have
Yeah,
gotten the basketball coach without that. They're starting to get some NIL deals now going with Nike and some others, and things are looking up out here in Provo for BYU. I know if you remember the football game last year, it rained and
hmm
the
field
field
was
was a
slick.
complete mess, and a lot of Sooner fans were complaining about it. But what I knew that most Sooner fans didn't know was that that field is very old. It was a mess, and with their first allocation of bowl money, they're working on that field to get it better.
Good. So that is that grass or is it turf?
It's grass, and it was a mess.
Yeah. So probably have to go in if they stay grass. They're going to have to probably go from the bottom up
Oh yeah, they will for sure.
and put
I,
in
I haven't
new
I haven't
drainage,
heard
everything.
I haven't heard if they're staying grass or if they're going to go turf. I would expect them to go turf at this
Yeah.
point.
Well,
I would.
uh, is Utah still turf
I don't know.
at Rice Eccles?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, but might have to look that up and see. But yeah, I was seeing at the ball game there, you should have showed up because your buddy was out there, Cosmo,
Oh, I
in
know. I
a
love Cosmo.
in a baseball uniform.
Yeah, absolutely love Cosmo. He is. I tell you, love my Boomer and Sooner. I always have to put them number one, but man, Cosmo's got to be number one B. I think
Yeah.
because he is an absolute. He is definitely I think the favorite mascot of the Big 12. During the football game, even the OU fans that I talked to out here said that they really enjoyed watching Cosmo. He's quite a sight.
Yeah. He
And
sure is.
I think you being an SEC guy, you kind of enjoy watching Cosmo, I think too.
Oh, he was there at Fayetteville, even though he was on the far side of the field. So he made an appearance in Fayetteville.
Good.
So that was good, along with a bunch of BYU fans. There was a lot of blue there that night they played at Arkansas. So
Yeah, they travel. BYU fans are all over. I mean, that's another reason why the Big 12 I think took them is because it's they travel well. You say they travel well, but I don't think it's so much that they travel necessarily from Provo. A group
it's
doesn't travel from Provo, and so it's the fact that there's church members all over the world. So
right.
no matter what city you play in, you're going to have a whole contingent of LDS church members that are going to be there who either root for BYU or are BYU grads.
Right. Exactly. Well, flip the coin over to NSU and baseball took one on the chin today. They got beat by OBU 17-5 up at Rousey Field, but then they are home. Let me look at my notes here. Uh, they play Washburn this weekend. That's the final series, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday up at Rousey Field, weather permitting, because we've got some weather coming
Really?
in. Got uh, Storm Prediction Center already talking about Friday. Hopefully, they can get Friday's game in. Same way with Arkansas. Arkansas's got a 3-game series against Florida this weekend at Baum Walker. And it's one of those things over in Fayetteville. They got a Friday night, I think Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, and of course a Sunday afternoon game. Hoping they can play Friday night instead of having to play 2 on Saturday.
Hmm.
So just have to watch the weather and see what happens. But NSU trying to get into those last spots for the MIAA tournament. I didn't even pull up the MIAA standings. I'll do that here in a little bit. The Lady Reds, they canceled their doubleheader out at Alva that was going to be today, but they'll be home for their final 4 games this season, Friday and Saturday. They've got Fort Hays coming in on Friday, and then Nebraska Kearney comes in on Saturday. So that'll be senior day up at the softball complex. So they'll be finishing up their season. They will not qualify for the MIAA playoffs. Also, the golf team playing right now. The women's team is up in Kansas City. They're currently second right now. They fell out of the lead because Central Missouri passed them today. So there's one more round to go, and it'll be NSU and UCM playing together tomorrow afternoon up in Kansas City. And hopefully NSU can claim another MIAA title in golf on the women's side. They have won it 4 in a row in the past. There's Lexi Arman, now Lexi Johnson, along with Ebba Moberg, now Ebba Kern. They were a part of that 4 straight championships here several years ago. Now those two, Lexi is now the head girls coach up at Owasso, and just had a baby girl here about a month ago.
Oh, wow.
And, well, in fact, both of them married NSU men's golfers. Lexi married Mark Johnson, and Ebba married Jake Kern, and Ebba just announced she's expecting come October.
Wow.
So she's got a boy coming.
Wow.
Already named him. His first name is going to be Jesper, because Ebba is originally from Sweden.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of golf fans remember Jesper Parnevik, who played on the PGA Tour and also the PGA Tour champions. Had the flipped up bill. Had a company that made them specially for him. The bill is not flat; it's flipped up, and had his sponsor logo on the underneath of the cap.
Oh, wow.
It
That's
was
cute.
a neat cap, and I think it was made in Sweden, I believe. So those two still in golf. In fact, Ebba works for a golf course up in Kansas City, so she might be out there walking the golf course during the final round, joining Scott Varner, who never takes a cart. He's always walking, and he'll walk the entire course. So he'll walk 4 miles a day.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, that's on the NSU front. The high schools, well, the 5A regionals have not been released yet for Tahlequah, but 2A district has been announced. They play this week. Hulbert is the only team in 2A that uh, plays. They are playing Pecola, and they'll play at home in a best of 3 series to go on to the regional next week. Then in 3A, Sequoia, they are having to go. Let's see. They are, as soon as I find it here, well, I can tell you one thing. Westville's in a regional at Metro Christian. They play at 11 o'clock Thursday. The winner of that one plays at 4 against the winner of Hugo and Lincoln Christian. Losers go to the losers bracket at 6:30. Sequoia is in region number 9. That's not it. We go back down here to the bottom. Keys is having to go all the way to Idabel. So they're playing Idabel at 11 in the morning Thursday, and then the winner gets Morris or Eufaula at 4. Sequoia, still trying to find where in the heck they're at, where their region's at. I mean, I saw it just a little while ago because I was looking at it. Oh, here we go. They are playing at Victory Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And they are it's a 3-team regional. They will play Kingston at 11. They'll be off until 4 o'clock. Then they play Victory Christian. Victory Christian plays in between. They play Kingston at 1:30. Then if one team's been eliminated, go 0-2 in day 1, then they'll play Friday at 4 with an if necessary game at 6:30. Now, if everybody's lost 1, then they'll go 4 o'clock on Friday with the 2 lowest seeds. Team B plays Team C, with the winner of that game facing the top seed for the right to go on to the state tournament. So Sequoia's in, playing at Victory Christian. That's their ballpark is 78th and Wheeling. It's on the west side of the Victory Christian campus. And the best way to get there, if you are a Sequoia fan, you want to go up there, go to Delaware. Well, no, take that back. I would go Creek Turnpike to get off on Riverside, go to 91st Street, and then first time you can get a left and go to Lewis. Go to Lewis and go up to 81st, which is where ORU's at. Turn left, go just a very little ways over to the Lakes Apartments, and then go up about 3 blocks and you're at the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they'll play their regional tournament. So they don't have to go through a district. And in district, in 4A, Fort Gibson is hosting, which that's no surprise because they've got one of the nicer facilities around.
Yeah.
They do have turf on the infield. So if it
Yeah.
happens to rain, they can continue playing. In fact, this year they are not hosting. They're having to go to their arch enemy, one of my old
Oh,
schools, Hilldale. Hilldale's hosting. And Fort Gibson plays at 1:30 against the um, Dewey Ball Club.
they
Uh,
got a, yeah. So that is kind of interesting.
yep. Hilldale takes on Tecumseh at 11. Hilldale and Fort Gibson, if they happen to win, they play at 4 at Hilldale's ballpark on Thursday. And I'm wondering if it rains a whole lot. I don't know if Hilldale has a tarp on their feet at their field. I haven't looked in a while.
Not really sure.
I'm not sure either, but if it gets too wet, could they move over to Fort Gibson and play?
Possibly.
Because the turf is only on the infield. The outfield's still grass. So it's just half and half. It's kind of like uh, the way X Stadium is up at Wichita, half turf and half grass.
Hmm.
So, but the Fort Gibson Tigers are in that regional over at Hilldale, and that's going to be should be a good regional over there
I would
because
think so.
both of them play very, very well. Winner gets to go to the state tournament next week, which they been playing the state tournament in Shawnee uh, for the last few years, except for last year because Shawnee's baseball field got ruined by a tornado.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
it
did not
got
know that. Did
it
it
got
really?
smacked. I mean, it got clobbered right about the time of the state tournament, and they had to move the thing in a hurry. And I'm not real sure where in the heck they moved it to last year, but uh,
Wow.
that got destroyed. The press box in the stands at the Wolves football field got clobbered. Uh, Lowe's got hit. I mean, it was right there on parallel on I-40. I mean, it was a pretty bad one. It was a
Wow. I had
F2,
no idea.
F2, maybe F3. I forgot how bad it was last year, but
Wow.
I mean, their baseball field got hit big time last year. And
Wow. Had no idea.
yep. So that's where all the local teams will be, except we won't know probably till next week what the Tigers will do and where they'll play. So it'll be very interesting. Uh, Golf, on the other hand, PGA Tour, well, it's Scotty Scheffler's world right now. 4 out of
Hmm.
the last 5, including the Masters, and one at Hilton Head on Monday. They had to go to Monday because of storms there. Nelly Corda wins 5 straight. Uh, Won the Chevron Championship. Used to be the Dinah Shore out in California. They moved it to just outside of Houston at the Woodlands, but they do have a pond by 18, just like they had at Mission Hills out in California.
Hmm.
And the tradition still continues to this day. The winner uh, jumps in the pond at the end of the tournament after they sign their scorecard. And the uh, tradition that they started, uh, the winner of the Masters, as you know, wins the green jacket.
Yep.
Uh, the used to be the Dinah Shore, and now the Chevron Championship. The winner gets a very big white bathrobe that has the Chevron Championship now on the back of it. Used to be Nabisco long time ago. They were the longtime sponsor of the first major on the LPGA tour.
Yep.
Well, I think we have covered a lot. It's going to be interesting to see how the people out in Salt Lake like NHL hockey.
Yeah, it is.
I am, it's almost one of those things to say, how about jumping on a plane and going out to Salt Lake and watch a game?
Heck yeah.
Uh,
Come
now,
on out.
yeah. Now the problem would be is I will have to make an order to NHL Shop. I would not wear anything that would be Utah. I would be wearing a white out of town jersey, and it would have the blue note on it because I'm a big fan of the St. Louis Blues, and I've listened to them ever since
Yeah.
their inception on KMOX, which they are no longer on KMOX, but listen to Dan Kelly, the great Dan Kelly, calling the games, member of the Hockey Hall of Fame up in Toronto. Just kind of looking right now, the odds and the, let me see where we're at here. Salt Lake would, as of right now, current order of the 24 draft, draft order determined by the lottery. Right now, they would be sixth right now. They would have the number 6 pick before the lottery. San Jose is 1, Chicago 2, Anaheim 3, Columbus 4, Montreal 5, Salt Lake City 6. And so the bingo balls go into the hopper, and then they'll have the draw. Let me see. Trying to look here when they're supposed to have the lottery. It's lottery date. They have not announced it, but the draft is June 28th and 29th.
Hey.
So there are 14 ping pong balls numbered 1 to 14 with combinations assigned to the top 11 teams involved in the draft lottery. So they are involved in it. Order the ping pong balls, then produces a random 4 number series that determines the top picks. So that will be interesting to see what does happen. Salt Lake City could wind up staying at number 6. They could go up. Think they can only go down 2 spots, I believe is what it is. So they could be no worse than 8th in the draft. So it might be worth the trip on that Friday night down to the Delta Center on the 28th of June just to see who they pick in the first round of the draft.
Oh, heck yeah. That would be fun. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of excitement downtown.
Oh yeah, and never can tell. You might wind up winning a drawing. You might win some tickets.
Hey, you never know.
Never can tell. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Cover 4 podcast. Next week, we'll find out how many high school teams from the area may make the trip down I-40 and play in the state tournament in 3A and 4A. 2A will be going to the regional next week. Hopefully, we'll know where Tahlequah goes in the 5A regional. And also need to talk to Matt Cloud. There was a thing that happened with the private schools. I don't know if it's going to affect the district that was drawn up, but there was 5 of the private schools filed a lawsuit against the OSSAA, and the judge ruled in favor of them, not allowing them to move up. They had a formula. If you reached the state tournament, like 3 out of the last 4 years, you had to go up a class. Well, they barked on that and said that wasn't right. The judge agreed with them, and it really threw the districts into a tizzy that was already drawn up, and see what transpires. I don't know if it affects 5A, but the lower classes, it sure could affect. So I'm still waiting to see if there's some districts that have been redrawn, and we may find that out hopefully either next week or here in the next couple of weeks, as everybody had their schedules already drawn up, and now some of them got blown up, but we'll find out here in the next week or two. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the podcast. For my partner, Randy Gibson, I'm Jim Trickett. We'll see you next week on the Cover 4 podcast.